Ooh.
There it is.
All
Record.
right.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Brittany.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
I forgot to say the intro. It's
I
Between Two
know.
Tasters. Hey. Interview
Woo!
edition. Hey, Brittany. Nice to meet you. I've heard wonderful things about you from Annie.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, everyone. This is Brittany. She is the body positive mom. Where I know on Instagram in particular, you've probably seen me post different things or share different things that she's put out there. And today we have her on because of really her message ultimately.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
So Brittany, let's just start with going back in time. Do you want to tell us, how did you get to this point? Tell us your story.
Yeah.
I'll summarize my story real quick. I don't know how far back you want me to go, but
I mean, I like your story.
like starting
back.
from way back. Okay, so back in 2012, I became a dietitian. All right, I graduated, did the whole thing, and then I got my first job out of school, and I started working at WIC, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of been that type of person that just like can't sit still.
Sure.
And I remember graduating and starting that job and being like, so this is just like it then? Now I just like go to work every day? And I was like horrified. So I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And so I was like, well, I had read an article in Today's Dietitian actually about dietitians who served in the Peace Corps.
Oh,
and
fun.
so
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I was young. I didn't have kids yet. So I was like, yes, that is it. So I joined the Peace Corps. I got stationed in Nepal, which is right in between China and India.
Cool.
I majored in dietetics and in Spanish. So I was like totally set on going to like a Spanish speaking country. I was like, that's it. They're going to put me there. And then they called me and they were like, yeah, we accepted you. And I was like, yes, where am I going? Like South America.
Right.
And they were like, you're going to Asia. And I'm like, Asia? No.
Scary.
Totally scary. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially when you major in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I accepted it. I was just like, whatever, I'll do it. And they speak Nepali, which is useful in only the country of Nepal.
Yeah. Which I assumed you picked up eventually.
Yeah, you spend like the first 3 months just like learning the language and the culture.
That's good though. Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived there for about 14 months. I lived in Nepal, and it is extremely third world. It was, I feel like I can describe the Peace Corps as like high highs and low lows. Like there was not a lot of in the middle.
Wow.
Yeah. Things were going really well, or things were just like horribly
really
hard.
bad. Yeah.
It was
Wow.
so hard.
Oh.
So I mean, I think there's a lot to say about just like getting used to a new culture. That is really a hard thing to do. And I kind of like found myself being like, all right, I like put all my eggs in this basket. Like I didn't like working a 9 to 5. So like, I'm going to do this. And then I wasn't like loving it either.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So life has those turns and I ended up like kind of like going to the city a lot because there was people who spoke English, and it kind of like gave me this sense of home. I met somebody, we started dating. He's from Nepal, and I got pregnant. There's some other nice to jump into that. So you cannot be pregnant and in the Peace Corps. Yeah. So what ended up happening is that I went back home, I had my baby, but it really kind of gave me some more time to think about like, what do you want to do? Yeah. And it like was just so obvious to me after living there and kind of seeing how women were treated and like what women had to go through. I was like, women, definitely something there. And then I think after I had my baby, I was like, something about women after they have their kids, because it's such a hard time.
So many changes.
And so that's pretty much where I went. After I had my first baby, I just took a job that was local. I didn't really care so much what it was. So I ended up, that's where actually I met Annie, because we worked together. And so I worked at like a behavioral health hospital. I learned a lot about eating disorders, and it really just kind of served me well when I finally decided, like, you know what, this whole 9-to-5 thing is again kind of not
don't like it. Yep.
So I just think it was all of those like life events that added up for me. That was like, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so now I just I work online mostly. I do almost all of my sessions online. I meet with moms, and we just kind of like work on body image and food freedom and diet culture and all of that.
That's really great.
That's sort of it.
And how long have you been kind of doing that?
Yeah. So I started like roughly a year ago, and I was still working at the hospital like when I started that. And I think it sort of became like, it was like exhausting. Like I had kids, and then, so I have 2 kids now, and they're 2 and 4. And then I was working at the hospital full time, and it was not a gig that I loved.
Sure.
And so that was already like energy sucking.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to do the thing that I did love, like on very little energy.
Isn't that hard? I know it. Yep.
Well, and Brittany, you also do a ton of crafting too, which I know is like you might be like, oh, so she like goes to Joann Fabrics? No, like she like does legit like furniture craft.
Cool.
It's really, really awesome. Like
do you sell it?
An Etsy thing and everything. She's super creative, which I find just amazing for a dietitian.
We want to know about that too. So give me all of your information so we can get it out there.
All
for
of
you.
it. Yeah. But Brittany, I think too, though, real quick, like, I mean, you were hating the hospital, you know, like it was like all of the red flags were there saying leave and go do what you love. Yeah. And you actually listened. Like,
well, okay, I'll get into both.
Eventually,
both of those subjects.
It took you a minute. Yeah.
I think it's absolutely terrifying to quit a job that is giving you health care. Yeah. And that is steady, and you have a steady paycheck coming in, and you have a family. But really what happened to me was I got into this car accident. Somebody hit me back in August. And then, so I got like a month and a half off of work trying to like recover from this really bad whiplash that actually I'm still struggling with, but whatever. And I went back to work, and I was dealing with like a job that I hated, and I was dealing with pain every day. And one Tuesday morning I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I quit. Like I quit.
Oh, great. I love it.
Yeah.
And my husband's
good
really
days.
happy.
Yeah.
Did you tell him before you did it?
I mean, we had been talking about it for a really long time.
Sure.
But
hey,
I don't know.
Brittany, was that the concussion where you were at the doctor? Oh no. Can you tell us about that real quick?
Oh, sure. So yeah, I get into this car accident. I'm like hit super, super hard from behind. And so I had a concussion where like my head didn't actually hit anything. It just like hit my skull
itself. Yeah.
So I go to this doctor the next day, somebody who's not, I've never really seen before. And he's like, oh, you're a dietitian. And I'm like, oh God. Like I can't I like honestly I can't even think straight. I'm like just losing it.
I have a concussion. Do not ask me any questions.
And like, you know how you get into like those diet culture fights sometimes, and like sometimes like pass. I don't feel like talking about this right now. It was like that, except for he really wanted to talk about it. He's like, you know, I put all my patients on these plant-based diets, and I think because I had this concussion, my filter was just like kind of
what's gone.
So I like shut it down, and I was like, these diets aren't sustainable. You're a rich white white country area. Of course you can follow that. And then I was like, well, maybe that was kind of mean. Whatever. I don't think about it.
It's just like one of my favorite stories. Like
I just had to make it end. I was like, stop talking about this. But
yes. So the lesson here is unless you want to know the truth, do not talk to a woman with a concussion.
Nope.
I mean, because when you think about it, like as a dietitian, I feel like we have to have that talk so often.
I know.
That just sometimes you're just like, I'm just not.
No,
so what do you think of
the main bullet points?
Yeah, exactly. The what do you think of blank questioning? Yeah. Do you eat salads?
Yeah.
Is that all you eat? Those questions, it's just like, oh my God, no.
It's not like a yes, no answer.
No.
Like,
right.
I just don't feel like going into this right now.
Yeah.
Especially with the concussion.
Yeah. So speaking along those lines, so speaking along those lines then, you know, when you are working with a mom, you know, and I assume that you probably get people who have done everything in the book, or they've thought about doing certain things and they kind of want your, you know, how do you handle kind of working with someone around that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people that I see, they have done a lot of things. They've tried a lot of different diets. They have sort of decided that their body is flawed and horrible, and self-esteem is just really, really low. So, you know, I really work with them on just teaching them like what diet culture is. I feel like that's like the first thing I focus on with people is like, what it is. It's not just messaging, it's imaging too. So when you see the super buff, ripped dude standing next to pistachios at the grocery store,
exactly.
The real thing that's really happening right now. That's how pistachios is advertising. That's diet culture.
Right.
Without saying it, they're saying, eat pistachios and you can be super ripped. No,
nope.
And so that's where I just like try to get them aware of it. And then it's almost like you let them in on the secret and they're like, oh, wow. Like I never knew. Did we lose Annie?
No,
I'm here.
Oh, okay. So then it's just kind of starting that way and then just kind of progressing into like doing like, you know, cognitive behavioral therapy type skills to get you to almost like, it's not to make you feel, it's sometimes people I think feel like maybe it's like trying to like brainwash you into thinking like that your body is okay, even though it's like quote unquote unhealthy and like quote, you know, like an obese range. Not that at all. It's really just trying to like almost unbrainwash you from diet culture and give yourself the skills that you need to be able to be okay with your body and move on with your life and like do the things you actually want
things.
Right.
Acceptance.
And
so
you know, it's
much
not
acceptance.
Like every single day you're gonna look in the mirror and be like, I look fabulous. Like diet culture is all around us all the time, and you're gonna have those days. But I think the person really has to be ready for the message.
They do.
And so a lot of times, especially on Instagram, because I've got a pretty good following on there, you know, a lot of times I'll just get people who just aren't ready to hear that yet, and there's not anything you can say to them. There, you can come up with all the research and all the things, but really they're just not ready, and that's okay.
Well, and Brittany, do you get a subgroup of moms or clients that you know follow that suit where they're like, hey, I want to work with you, but I am not willing to do X, Y, and Z, or I don't eat blah 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 blah. You know, where you're like they're already coming in with like a closed mind to the concept of intuition and acceptance and body positivity. You know, like, do you see that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I'll have people who will be like, but you know, I do follow this gluten-free diet. And I'm like, usually what I do is like, I'm
going to write you a consult for someone else. Here you go.
No. Usually what I do is like, I just don't hit on that very hard right away because I like don't want to scare somebody off. So I just say like, you know, we'll touch on that later. Because first thing I want to do is just really get them aware of diet culture. And then I want them to make a decision about like, so is this gluten-free diet serving you well? Now that you know what you know. Because if you lead in with, oh, you're going to have to give up that gluten-free diet.
You have to change that. Like I would.
It's to see you again. And like, also, it comes off really judgy and like, so.
Perhaps. That's my problem.
It goes away.
That's awesome. Oh, well, you're doing good stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's super.
I love that you focus on moms. Do you do anything with life cycle nutrition, like with kids at all, or is it really just moms?
I mean, I do that locally, where I'll see people, but now with coronavirus stuff, I only see people online. I was doing it locally just because I live in an area where there is an eating disorder treatment center, and so I had an office that I was working out of. But again, now I just
not so much.
So
right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, wow. That's so
Yeah.
cool. What kind of materials are you using? Because I sometimes see, I think you got a journal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so what I did is I created a journal. I call it a journal, but it's really kind of like a workbook too.
Sure.
And it's
Okay.
like pretty much like all the skills that I use to help moms, and I try to explain like how you can use them on your own. Just like mirror work type stuff, kind of like identifying foods that like give you a sort of like anxiety or fear. But and I use this one that's like safe, unsafe, like, dislike. So a lot of times people realize like, I'm eating a lot of foods that I don't like. I don't like the taste. I don't like the texture, but they're safe, and safe meaning kind of whatever it means for a lot of people, that they're not going to gain weight or whatever. And then they're like, well, man, that's like really messed up. Like, why do I do that?
And I don't even like it.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I try to use just like a lot of skills that just like give people awareness, and then kind of like let them decide too, like what is serving you well in your life. Like, do you want to spend your whole life trying to change your body? Or do you want to, do the things that you're passionate about, spend time with kids, and like kind of stop worrying about that.
Yep, so definitely.
And once you stop worrying, man, it's just, life is so much better.
Well, there's so much freedom involved, but I mean, there's a lot less
brain space
about anything. And for sure.
Yeah, I mean, lots of like, I think though it takes some time to like actually believe that that's true.
Oh yeah,
Because again, it's like most of us have grown up with like a parent or somebody who dieted.
All of us.
All the time.
Bad about their bodies, and like then you kind of learn that too. And so you spend most of your life thinking my body is wrong. I need to have a stomach. I need to be a certain gene size. And then all of a sudden I come in and I'm like, actually you don't. And they're like,
right. Well, and for every positive message that any one of us sends out there, and people grab on and they're like, yeah, there's 20 other, negative messages to follow it up. And that's the hard part, is all of us are trying to send this same kind of message, and it's just bombarded. So the more people we can get on board with, just slashing diet culture, I think we'll be able to get this message out there, and I was so happy when I saw that you were doing all of this, and the body, I mean, how I feel about body, and positivity and everything and all of that stuff, but to focus in on the mom population, I think is a really cool niche that I can't necessarily speak to. Like it's I think, Nicole and I were talking about this, moms like to listen to moms, right?
Yeah.
So it's good that, you've got the experience and all of those kinds. It's just really cool. I love it. I love that you're doing it.
I mean, it's been really interesting. Like sometimes things come up that I don't think are going to come up, but for the most part, I think that after you have kids, you are like the most vulnerable.
Absolutely.
As far as what your body just went through. And you don't have a lot of support in that area, because when you were pregnant, like a lot of the attention was on you. How are you doing? Like, let's make, let's help you. And then you have the baby, and then all the attention's on the baby. And then you're like, what about me?
Right.
Disordered eating can definitely take off after you have a baby, because you're just not used to what your body looks like now. And so really my message is like, it's okay that you went up a couple of gene sizes. Like, buy that gene size. Like, our bodies are going to be changing our entire lives, and there is nothing wrong with that. But this message that they put out, that we should all have 18-year-old beach bodies with 20 filters on it posted on Instagram, that's crazy. Like,
it's not okay.
Like, but then there are some times that have been a little bit interesting for me, is like I'll post something, and I try to use my face a lot, because I sort of like want people to like know who I am and what I do. And so like I'll post like things, me holding a letterboard or something, and sometimes I'll get comments like, well, she's not even big. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't really see that coming. Like people really like being like, she's not big enough to talk about this issue. And I was like,
it's weird. So it's like you're promoting non-judgmental communication, and then the irony is you're being judged for posing this non-judgmental viewpoint.
Right.
I mean,
that's crazy.
Totally honest, like my body image tanked after having kids. Like before I had kids, I mean, I was definitely feeling better
Yeah,
than body area.
yeah.
But after I spent a really long time like really wanting to cover up and like not feeling good enough to wear a swimsuit, not even wanting to go to the beach with my kids. And then to get some of those comments that like, oh, she's not big enough. I'm like, oh, look, I still struggle a lot though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the scale number says or the size of a person. That doesn't mean they don't struggle with the same concept.
Right. And we know really well that like even somebody could have this like perfect quote unquote ideal body that the world was looking for and still not feel like it's good enough. You know, it doesn't really matter what it look like.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's the essence of anorexia, really.
It's the base of the sickness is perfection is never enough, never finally arrive. Because if you arrive, then the sickness ends.
It goes away. Can't give that up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Completely. That's really fascinating. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brittany, what is your biggest pet peeve right now maybe in diet culture or just in general as a dietitian?
I absolutely hate it when other dietitians say that they are body positive and say that they are for intuitive eating. And then the things that they post are like the exact opposite. Of that. You can't, you can, but to say that you are body positive and then you post a picture of yourself in a swimsuit with abs and filters,
integrity.
That is not helping your audience.
Right. No.
That
it's buzzwords.
Yeah, if you say you're an intuitive eating dietitian, but then you say, but don't eat too many carbs. That's not that. Like
complete contradiction.
Or dieting. Here's the weight loss plan. It's weight loss plans and intuition don't go together.
No plans. Like if you are
the no plan diet, right?
You don't follow a plan. And so to me, like that kills me, especially because I'm so online and I'm so into social media.
You are.
Oh, sure.
That I can't.
do you feel like you see a lot of that out there? A little bit of ethical integrity issues?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's why how many people in this world are confused about nutrition. Nicole and I have talked about this, but like because even practitioners are not necessarily preaching all the right
isn't there. Yeah, the consistency of the message is not there. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
and we're 3 for 3 here, so that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good right here. Okay, Brittany, what were you gonna say?
If you're the only one in their lives saying, hey, just because you have an obese BMI doesn't mean that you are unhealthy.
Right.
And then everybody else, including just the culture in general, are saying, hey, you're unhealthy. It becomes really hard to be the voice of reason.
Right.
I think that's where dietitians have a really big uphill battle. And I think it's super unfortunate. And that's actually really just, it makes me so sad too. But
that's just sad.
I think there's been a lot of really good strides, though. Christy Harrison's new book, Anti-Diet, wonderful. If you guys haven't read that, that is amazing. You listen to it on audio, it is the best. If you're looking for something to do during this time at home, get that book. Because it is
perfect.
She does a great job with words. Like, words are hard.
Yes.
She does such a good job of saying, this is why this is all BS. And I was just blown away by it. So there's some good strides by some really great dietitians that are getting the message out there, and I love it.
I love
It'll take time.
Well, Brittany, make sure that I know that you've given us a lot of information of what you want out there, so we're going to make sure that we promote that. Do you have any kind of last messaging, last words that you want people to be kind of left with?
Yeah, I think that even if you are listening to this, or if you've seen those types of messages that are talking about body positivity and talking about food freedom, and you're like, no, you'll gain weight if you eat pizza, just try to have an open mind about it. And that can just kind of start planting the seed. Yeah. And so that's what I would leave people with. Even if you are not ready to hear the message, just take it in, take with it what you will, plant the seed, and then just kind of see where it goes.
Right. That's so great.
That's awesome. Brittany, what's your favorite food?
Yep.
Real quick. Favorite food?
Chocolate donuts all day.
Yes. Awesome.
All day long.
Donuts. Awesome. Make sure you send us those links too to your workbook and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I mean,
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, and you can check them out on my Instagram page, which is at @positive_mom.
Cool.
Okay.
And what about your
Very
furniture
good.
Etsy page? We want to know that.
Oh yeah.
I quickly breezed over that, but really, I think it's almost like, it's like I really tried hard to just like take my passions and like turn them into the dietitian job of my dreams.
Great.
So I've always been like super creative, and I love painting, and I love thinking about art and colors and white space and like all that. So a lot of my posts on Instagram do really well. And I started making them into posters that I now sell, and dietitians have been buying them and putting them in their offices. And
perfect.
Nice.
I love it.
Putting them in their houses for just like inspiration. And
I love it.
It's been going really well.
Good.
Super happy
That's
to hear
awesome.
that. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Brittany. This has been really fun. Yeah.
This is awesome. Thank you, Brittany.
Do what we can to support and promote you. So awesome.
Woo!
Thanks, Brittany.
Thanks.